That's competition versus collaboration.
I don't know. The only thing holding you back is yourself.
The only person that can really stop me is me. I realize that. There's nothing that can stop me in life.
90% of businesses fail after 6 months. Yep. With the health and fitness, like some people need the kind of push over the edge.
Hey man, do you have a prison record? I'm like, yeah, I told you about it when I got hired. They're like, oh yeah, you can't work here anymore.
Oh, nice. Personal training, honestly, is expensive.
Yep.
Not honestly, everyone needs it. I want to see people like actually push the limits of human evolution. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, welcome back to a certain episode that I don't know which number and chronologically this is. I am here. I am the host. I am Adam, aka Puffy, and welcome to the Start Yesterday podcast. I am here with Manny.
Hey, what's up?
Hey, hi.
How you doing, buddy?
If I was doing any better, I'd be standing outside, or I'd be outside telling people I'm outstanding. That's the word. Or vitamins would be taking me. That's how good I am.
Yeah. Well, that's okay. Sounds like you're good.
Honestly, like, I can't complain. Like, my whole life goal for a while was just like, when people ask me like how I'm doing, I just like be like, not shit. And so, because like if like there's good days or bad days, but as long as you're like a steady, like, I don't know, like a 6, I think that's good.
I have the approach of every day that I'm alive is a good day.
I mean, that's a good approach. Just some days, like, you don't want to be alive. But
yeah.
This is not a psychological podcast. But, but I don't know, man. Like, that's a great way to start the episode. Just be like all depressed. I mean, I don't know. Anyways, I typically like to start each episode because, I would think most people that watch this, at least recounting, they know my story for the most part. I mean, we can get into it a little bit if you're curious, but for
sure.
You, like, I guess, do you have like a sob story, or like, do you have like, I mean, I guess just kind of give like the synopsis about Manny.
All right, so let me tell you about me. So I actually grew up around the corner from here.
Seriously?
Yeah, I grew up in Vaughan and Oakwood.
Nice.
So it was, I grew up in I want to say a single parent home, but it was one of those parent homes where it was 2 parents sometimes. And I learned how to do a lot of stuff for myself. Actually went to, so Avenue Road in Eglinton, Marshall McLuhan.
Okay.
I went there for high school, got kicked out,
Nice.
And moved over to Cedarbrae in Scarborough. And let's say I've always been dabbling in the hustling game. Mm-hmm. And it caught up to me in my 20s. So when I went to prison for 4.5 years on a couple charges that were some interesting stuff, some home invasion and stuff like that. And I had to learn a lot of different things from that point. That was like my rock bottom, because for me that was like, okay, cool. There's nothing lower than this, right? And I was already changing up my life, but then at that point I had to learn a lot of new skill sets in there. And the skill sets I had to learn was like, okay, so there's economies everywhere. There's lots of things everywhere that's happening. And I had to learn how to make money in there. Yeah. So I did learn how to make money. I was actually sending money out to my girlfriend through different things from
in prison?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's sick.
Yeah. She bought a car. She bought a coat. She bought boots.
Wow.
So I learned how to do it's like loan sharking, where you loan money out and then people give you 3-1. So everything, if you actually look at the news reports of like drugs getting smuggled in, it always tells you the value of like things are astronomically high.
That's crazy, dude.
Right? So if you get let's use marijuana, for instance. Like, I wasn't smuggling any drugs, but I'll use the...
Allegedly.
Yeah. Utilize marijuana, for instance. Like, if you got a dime, which is $10 out here, in a prison economy, it would cost you $100.
Wow. Well, I mean, it does make sense. It's supply and demand, right? It's a lot harder.
It's a lot harder. There's nothing there.
Well, and if someone doesn't pay the piper, that's not a good day for them.
You got it. So what ended up happening is, like, I ran stores, and stores are like where you have canteen, and canteen everyone wants. So like it closes at 9.
Yeah.
So after 9 o'clock is when movies came on. So everyone would be in their cell and they want snacks. So I'd have bags of chips sitting in my cell, just a bunch of them, and people would pay 3-1.
Cool. Wow.
Right? So, like, imagine a bag of chips, which is $2, and then times that by 3. It's 2, 4, 6.
Yeah.
So every $2 bag would be cost $6.
And then you're making like $20 a day just off chips.
You got it. And then all of a sudden, after a while, they're like, okay, they run their bill up to $100, $200. And like, okay, hey, so can I just send you money? It's like, okay, just send money to this address. Yeah. So what ending up happening is they start getting money. My wife now, she was my girlfriend at the time. She started getting money there. So anyways, I don't want to glorify this, but from that point, that was my rock bottom, because at that point, the number one thing, while it was great to learn an economy, it sucked because I was away from my family.
I mean, yeah, but I don't know many people that have been to prison and like basically made money from it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Sick.
You have to learn. Like anywhere you go in life, I believe there's an economy and there's a way to make money.
Yeah.
And I think there's a way to actually thrive. So even at the lowest place in your life, there is something you can do to thrive if you focus on it. Now, obviously, it does suck. And the worst part about it was the can't go anywhere and my life is on pause.
Yeah.
I'm 24 years old when everyone is in their going to do something, graduating university, graduating college, about to do stuff, and here I go starting a 4-year sentence.
Jeez, yeah.
So my life starts at 28 when I moved to Ottawa, and I got out when I was 28. I lived in Ottawa for 2.5 years, and I was living there. I was on parole, and I actually got my job at Good Life.
Okay.
Yeah, that's when I applied. I actually didn't get the job at first.
That's a rarity.
Yeah, I didn't get the job at first. And I applied, and I didn't get the job. I was pissed because I looked like the typical prisoner who was like 10%, under 10% body fat, jacked. And it's like...
Well, that's surprising they actually didn't hire you at first. Did they tell you why?
The recruiter actually didn't put me through. And he's like, oh, we're going to go a different direction. Yeah. So I actually gave up on my goals.
Damn.
And I started working at a car wash. So I was like, okay, cool. I want to be a personal trainer. Like, I spent 4.5 years thinking inside being a personal trainer. Now, mind you, my workouts, I was working out 3 times a day.
Yeah.
I was working out with people that were sitting in there for life. I was working out with people that were in MMA. I was working out with people from all different walks of life. Though. Like one of my training partners is actually a strongman now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Carl Holfit. I think his name is something like that. And so he's a strongman now, which is cool. But I had like bodybuilders, strongmen, MMA fighters, and everything. So when I came out, I had a lot of array of training styles that I've acquired over the last 4.5 years. So when I got to applying and they said no, I was like, okay, whatever. I just need to make money. So I went to go work. I went to go work at the Loblaws. When I worked at the Loblaws, I told them the honest truth. I was like, I just got out of prison. Hey, so here's where I am. Like, okay, cool. So no matter what, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
So the Loblaws, what I was doing there I was cookie guy. So I was the guy trying to sign people up for credit cards. So I'd walk around trying to get people to sign up for credit cards. I'd be like, hey, you want cookies? Yeah, cool. Here's a credit card. Sign up for MasterCard.
No, dope. That reminds me. I was at the what is it? I remember I was little, and I used to go to the car show with my dad, and they would have a booth, the President Choice booth.
Yep.
I would sign up for 5 fucking credit cards just so I can get the cookies.
That was that guy.
Yeah.
So one day, as I was that guy, they actually they called me as I was in my middle of my shift. They said, "Hey man, do you have a prison record? A record?" I'm like, "Yeah, I told you about it when I got hired." They're like, "Oh yeah, you can't work here anymore."
Oh, nice.
I was like, "Oh." Wow, that was the middle of my shift. So I went home, and I went to the John Howard Society the next day, and I said, hey, I don't have a job anymore. Can you guys help me? And they're like, okay, we can help you. They got me in a car wash. So I was working in a car wash one day, making $30 an hour detailing cars. So it wasn't that
pretty
bad.
Solid, actually.
Yeah, and it was like tips, hourly, everything. So I was like, okay, it's not that bad. I was able to take my girlfriend out for dinner, able to do stuff. But it wasn't my dream.
Yeah.
So we were out for dinner and she was asking me questions. I couldn't hear her. And it's because the loud noises in the car wash, it just keeps on going and your eardrums get affected. Mm-hmm. She's like, you can't work here anymore. Like we can't talk like this if you're going to be getting what. I'm like, okay. She's like, you got to apply for the trainer position again. I'm like, okay. But they didn't want me, like my record's stopping me. That's what my thought was. Mm-hmm. So I applied again, but I applied for a fitness advisor position. So the sales position.
Okay.
And I went to the gym. They actually got me the interview. I was like, okay, cool. I show up to the gym, and Michelle Harlow. I'll always remember her name because she gave me the chance. So I go there, and she says, "So I noticed you have a criminal record." I'm like, "Yep." She's like, "So there's only one question I have. Does it have to do with like minors or like an offense like that?" I'm like, "Nope." She's like, "Okay, we're good." I'm like, "All right." So she's like, okay, so what do you want to do? Where do you see yourself in the next 5 to 10 years? I'm like, a personal trainer. She's like, so why'd you apply for the sales role? I'm like, I'm just trying to get in.
Yeah, that's valid.
Like wherever I can get in is where I'm getting in. So okay, well, I can introduce you to the fitness manager, and then from there you can then you have to your life's in your hands at that point. I'm like, okay, cool. So I shake hands with the fitness manager. He sees me. He looks me up and down, and he's like grinning ear to ear because he's got a jacked, beefy black guy in Ottawa who looks like he knows what he's talking about and very confident.
Yeah.
Okay,
it's a pretty good fit.
And well, they just lost their beefy black guy.
I mean, every good life's got to have a black beefy black guy.
You got it. Exactly.
Shout out to my buddy DeAndre. He's a jacked beefy black guy, and it's really nice.
Yeah, you got it. So you always need that one. So I was like, okay. So I show up the next day, and I kid you not, I used to interview, but the one thing that got me in my interview, and I always tell people this, is like, they told me we can't do this anymore. So they told me, okay, how long do you think it'll take you to talk to 10 people or 5 people? I'm like, 10 minutes. Yeah. Like, okay, so go around the gym, talk to 5 people, get their needs, goals, time frame. Mm-hmm. Dope. Took me 3 minutes and 43 seconds.
For 10 people?
Yeah, no, for 5 people.
Oh, okay.
So I walk back in, I'm like, okay, I'm done with all the names on the book, and they're like, you're done? I'm like, yeah. Like, grinning. AFM and FM, both grinning. They're like, we got a stud. All right, you're hired.
100%.
I was like, okay, cool. So from there, I got the job. And my first month sucked. I did 40 consults, closed nobody.
Ditto.
Yeah. And then
that's typical.
Yeah, that's typical because you're not too sure what you're doing, and then there's also other gaps. And then my second month, I did 30 consults, closed the foundation first, and a foundation first is like 18 sessions, so like a little small package.
Yeah.
And then I started boot camp. Month 3, I did another 25 consults, and I closed my first agreement. And
I think I actually had better stats than you.
Probably. A lot of people do. Yeah. I always tell everyone I ever hire and tell them, like, you guys are all better than me, but then watch out what happens in my month 4.
Yeah.
Month 4, I hit 4 contracts. Month 5, I hit 6 contracts.
For in person?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And then all of a sudden, well, all happened by month 6, I was sitting with 15 clients, 3 boot camps.
And the 3 boot camps you had like full, like 10 people?
No, with 3 boot camps, I had one boot camp had 3 people, another boot camp had 6 people, and another boot camp had 5 people.
Oh, so but you were raking that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So by the time I was going into month 7, 8, I hit the hours record at my club with 178 hours.
Holy shit.
And then sold 2 contracts.
That's crazy, dude.
Yeah. So by the time that year was done, so the year was June, I was 3rd in sales at my club behind my AFM and my FM.
Oh, well, that would make sense.
And then 2nd in hours.
That's crazy, man.
And so I started, and I look at it, but I started in October. So all I did was just pushed. So at that point, I realized, I'm like, they asked me, what do you want to do? I said, well, from the time that I'm here, I want to be a manager. I don't want to stay as a trainer because I sat down and I calculated. I'm like, okay.
Can't grow.
And then I realized at that point, I'm like, I can only make an X amount of money. And I realized, I'm like, I'll make more money as a manager. So
well, yeah, because then you can also sell more.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's where the thing is, like, my skill set's here. I like it. I like leading. I like this aspect. It's like, okay, cool. So this is in Ottawa, but they didn't realize that I didn't want to be a manager in Ottawa.
I mean, I think everybody that lives in Ottawa doesn't really want to live in Ottawa.
No. Well, I'm from Toronto. So, like I'm out there because I'm out there. I'm not out there because I want to be. Like, I'm out there, like, originally, I went out there because I didn't want to come back into Toronto coming out of prison.
That's pretty valid.
Right? Because I'm from Toronto, so then what's everyone going to ask me for the last 4.5 years? Where have you been?
No, that's fine.
I've been in Kingston. What are you doing in Kingston? I was locked up. Like, I wanted a different story to have the origin story, right? Like, my reintroduction to the world. So when I moved back, they're like, oh, where were you? I was in Ottawa. Okay, cool. So now for the last 5 years, everyone just thinks I'm in Ottawa.
Yeah.
But it's like, okay, that was a year and a half. Realistically, I've been like Kingston.
No, but they don't even know that shit.
They don't need to know it, and I wasn't ready to talk about it at the time. So when I moved back, anyways, before I skip the story, in November I went to it was CanFit. I went to CanFit, saw one of my friends. I could have went to any Good Life in Toronto, and we would have looked at it and said I probably would end up downtown, right? But when I was in Ottawa, I moved closer to my club, and at that point, I realized I never want to live far away from work again. So I'm like, okay, where do I want to settle myself down? So I ended up setting myself in Durham. Mm-hmm. I get to CanFit. I meet one of my friends who I've known for a long time, and he's like, "Well," I'm like, "Oh, what club are you working at?" He's like, "Oh, I'm working at Pickering." I'm like, "Oh, dope, man. Well, I'm looking at moving back. How's that club?" He said, "It's good." He gassed it, right? Because when I talked to my manager about it, he looked at the stats. He's like, "Why would you go to this club?" He's like, you should go to this club. The club that he was talking about is the club I'm currently at.
Okay.
Right? But like he was like, don't go to that club. I'm like, okay, well, like that's where my friend says it's good. I'm like, he knows the region, I'm gonna go. So I'm gonna go there and become the AFM. So I go there, I meet with the manager. He says, yeah, there's an AFM position. All right, cool. I get transferred from Ottawa to Pickering. I get there day one. I'm like, okay, I want to be an AFM. So you got to earn the position. I'm like, I just sold $130,000 over the last 12 months, and you want me to earn a position? I'm like,
you probably sold more than 130.
No, between $80,000 from the $89,000. That's what I sold the first 6 months.
Yeah.
And that was the first fiscal year. And then when I left Ottawa, I was sitting at 50,000. Okay. So yeah, 130, 140,000.
But that's not revenue. That's like what you made.
No, that's revenue. That's just revenue. How much I sold.
Well, you signed 10. Okay, I don't know.
This is back in 2014.
Okay, so that's a bit different.
Yeah, in terms of contract value and everything like that.
Okay, because I'm thinking of the pricing that I knew.
Yeah, no, the pricing was a little bit lower.
Yeah.
A lot lower actually. Yeah. So when I moved back, they're like, okay, you gotta do. I'm like, hey, whatever. I want the job. So month 1, December of 2014, I sold 6 contracts, and I said, all right. Give me the AFM.
Yeah.
Right? Like, well, all right, well, you got to do that again. I'm like, all right, cool. Bet. Sold 7 contracts in January of 2014 started 3 boot camps again. And I'm sitting with 12 clients, 2 boot camps. And my manager is sitting in the office with Brody Thorne and Lisa Zibbins, who are like no longer in the company, but we're high up there. And they're like, okay, so like, he's like, okay, so you're either making him an AFM now or you're just going to be a 120 trainer. You decide.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, you're the AFM. I'm like, cool, bet. 1 month later, my FM quits. And then they're like, okay, well, and then they didn't give me the job of FM, but they're like, you got interview for it. I'm like, cool, bet, I'll get it. That same month, he quit, and then he started taking clients because he opened his own gym. He's a great guy. I love him. He's amazing. I would do the same thing. No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't. No.
Allegedly. Low key, pretty much every trainer that leaves a good life, they kind of.
You got it, right? Because that's where you're starting your business. I don't blame him, right? It makes sense. So anyways, but now as the FM, every single month I'm gaining clients and losing clients. So I'm getting a 0 all the time, but I'm selling 4 to 6 agreements every month. Yeah. So anyways, lo and behold, we finished a year off, and then the next year we do $890,000 in sales as a club, and then the following year I moved to another club, moved to Pickering Ridge. And that's a whole other club. I hit that was the record for that club. Then broke the record at the other club. Doing, I think the highest that club ever did was 400. I doubled it at the next club I was at. Then I actually left the company, came back. I left the company for cryptocurrency. That's a whole other topic. I came back in 2018, became the AFM again at the Whitby Centrum where I'm at right now, and then became the FM there. And then since then, for the last 3 years, I've hit my sales target's been top 10 in sales in the company for FM sales. Just pretty much working on systems. And that's like literally what I've realized now at this point. Like that's my origin story of like getting into training. But now I realize, okay, how can I make this simpler for trainers? Yeah. Like what type of techniques and what type of styles, what type of things, like what did I do? What's duplicatable and what's me? And what can I just say, hey, this is how you do it. And so I had to analyze and really look at it because I'm like, okay, like anyone can sell, anyone can do this, but what's the mentality? So there's a couple things I've realized in terms of it. We can get into it during this.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, well, the cool thing is I feel like we obviously have different origin stories, but the foundation of like hitting a rock bottom and then turning, what's the analogy? Turning like a diamond into the rough type of thing. Yeah. Right. You could have just been like, fuck it, I'm done. Right. Yeah. And I could have been like dead, and it's just like you turn that and then you find the passion with helping others. And then also, then coincidentally, you learn the skill of business, but it started with helping people. And I feel like, well, a lot of trainers that I knew, they kind of lost sight on that. They would like start with wanting to help people, and then they
always lose sight of that,
and it's like, whenever I talk to someone in person or on a call or like consult or whatever, my main goal is always to give, like, to help them. Like I don't ever want to force someone to work with me.
You got it.
So, but a lot of trainers, they don't, like, a good analogy, or it's not even an analogy. Almost every trainer that I used to work with at the Good Life like 5 years ago, except for like 2, one of which is DeAndre, they're all now selling cars, real estate, or insurance. Yeah. Literally. Yeah. Right? Because they didn't actually give a shit about helping people. Or maybe they did originally, and then they just gradually lost sight. And I understand that as like my own business owner, and like it's a lot of monotony and bullshit and like dealing with excuses and overcoming objections. But like, fundamentally you can't lose sight on the goal, because I get motivated by helping people and like getting them results. If it wasn't for that, like I don't know, if this was just like, if I was just a business coach for but a business coach, you can help change people's lives, like build money. I'm trying to think of an example, but if there's no results, I really
well, that would be the car sales analogy, right?
Yeah.
And so like I tell my trainers, I'm like, that we're not car salespeople, right? Because you're a mechanic, and that's how you gotta view yourself. And I'm like, the things I'm teaching you isn't like, it's not sales in terms of like car sales. It's mechanic work with understanding how to communicate to people. Right? Because now there's a certain way to communicate to people to get them to do things, to make decisions, right? That's the art of sales, which sales is just, it's not transactional. Now, car sales is transactional. Yeah. Personal training is not.
Yeah.
And a lot of people learn this old model of sales where they get stuck on this transactional matter, right? And so this is what happens. And a lot of sales coaches teach it's like this. A lot of trainers get taught like this.
Yeah.
And this is why they go into a used car or anything else. I've told people, I'm like, I can go into used cars, but I'm not passionate about it. So therefore I wouldn't do it. Like, you know how many things people tell me to sell and I'm like, cool. Like, I'm not passionate about it. I'm not going to sell it. The reason why I'm good at what I do is because I'm passionate about helping people. And that's the hack.
Well, what I learned, honestly, I've had my company for like 5 years. And one of the biggest things that I've learned is just I sell myself, bro. Right? That goes with like content, like personal brand and all that shit. But fundamentally, like, I'm just myself. Like, you know, when someone books a call with me, I send them a video, which is I'm sure you know what a VSL is, but some people don't, whatever. It's just like me ranting for 20 minutes, telling them if they don't change, they're going to die.
Yeah.
And if they don't like me or what I'm saying in that video, it's not even edited. It's just like me on a loom. Like, and, like going over my story and how the program works, whatever. But like, if they don't like it, I've had people watch the video and they're like, I don't think this is for me. I'm like, that's cool. Then we're never going to work together, you know? So I just kind of sell me, but a lot of people, they do the car salesman and then it doesn't work, right?
Yeah.
Like some people, they need, unfortunately, with the health and fitness, like some people need the kind of push over the edge, right? So that, like the biggest, I would say the most common, I wouldn't even say objection, the most common reason someone doesn't want to move forward besides finance is self-belief.
Yeah.
And then that's kind of like the most important one to overcome, because I could relate in their shoes, but the difference between me and why I get frustrated and somewhat lose empathy is like when I reached out for a coach, well, my dad did, but whatever. When he hired a coach for me, I was all in. I did it, right? I wasn't like, I have to think about it or this, but also the economic standpoint and the investment, I didn't have to deal with myself. So, but I also find a lot of people, when they're wanting to hire someone, it's all they care about is money. And I had a client actually, we talked yesterday, and she's like, well, there's other people that are cheaper. And I'm like, okay, well, do you want the cheapest person or do you want actual results, right? Because if you want the cheapest option, you have to ask yourself, do they actually know what they're doing?
Yeah.
Probably not. Like, and I don't blame this trainer who's charging $20, $30 an hour, but like, if you actually know what you're doing, you have results, you have testimonials, like you wouldn't charge
that much,
right? So she's like, yeah, that's a good point. I'm like,
no one's charging that much, because realistically, economically, if you understand personal training, you understand what you're doing. I made a video about it the other day. I'm like, you should be charging more. You're actually wanting to. I can't believe this costs us.
When people pay, they pay attention.
Yeah,
bro. Like I tell this to every coach or trainer friend that I have, and like I have a buddy, I won't name him, but like he told me like he was charging like $100 a month for like online coaching. I'm like, okay, why would you do that? Like, if you, okay, so you have 10 clients, you're making $1,000 a month. Like, what the fuck, bro?
Yeah, you don't feel like it.
If you have 3 clients even at $300 a month, which all of them could afford, then it's the same money, but like literally 90 or 70% less of work.
Yep.
And he's like, oh, that's a good point. Anyway, so like, I find just
scaling.
Like some people, the biggest thing that they have to get a prospect to understand is it's an investment into their health.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, there are certain limitations with like Good Life. I'm not like in terms of like what people can actually afford and what they actually have, like packages.
Yeah.
Like the one thing I never understood is like they never really offered, and maybe it's changed, but they never offered like online coaching. Right.
So yeah, they're gonna they're working on it.
Yeah. I mean, they're like 10 years late to the party.
Yeah, but I know they're working on it. But my one caveat about online coaching and within a setting like that is, how do you police it?
Well,
like, I'm a manager there.
That's a valid point.
And it'd be like, how much? Like you want to do online? Okay, cool. How do I police them saying, instead of going through there, here's my bank account?
Well, I think they'll probably have to do it through their system. Right? Yeah. I forget. It was like purple and yellow, whatever their system is.
Excerpt.
Yeah. So that's the only thing.
Yeah, but I don't know won't make sense.
No, but
you can't keep track of it.
But I mean, shit, like, it's better to help someone than not, because I remember I would have closed more deals at the beginning of my journey if I had that option, or honestly, if I wasn't such a corporate slave and thinking I was going to work there the rest of my life. Yeah. I'm like, oh no, I can't help you on the side.
Yeah.
Allegedly. Yeah. But because like some people's budget is whatever, $200-$400 a month, and they can't afford, like, personal training honestly is expensive.
Yep.
And it's not not honestly everyone needs it. I would recommend everybody who doesn't have a trainer or coach to begin their fitness journey to get one, because, like, bro, if you want to learn Spanish, you're gonna hire a tutor.
Yep.
Right. Or if you're getting a license, you're gonna hire the guy to teach you how to drive a car.
You got it. So, Peter's Academy. Shout out.
You know, so if you're trying to figure out what to do in the gym, like, why would you not hire a trainer? Even, like, it doesn't have to be for a year or 6 months, but just to learn the machines and the foundations.
Yep.
But, I don't know. Some people, they're stubborn.
They are. They definitely are stubborn. I think. So in terms of that topic of understanding, like, I do upsell, downsell. So upselling would be like trying to get people to the next point of whatever you're offering, right? Mm-hmm. Downselling would be like figuring out what they can be able to put towards or invest into themselves. So like so whenever you're looking at it, the gas is what you're looking for, which is like, oh, I can't believe. So like, let's use my example. If I was training people at my level, it's like level 5, right? So if I'm charging,
you're level 5 now?
Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty.
So if I'm selling people at $106, I don't train anybody, but I know the price, right?
Oh, but then it's easier to drop down.
It's easier to drop down because that's the gas. So now at rate of, it's like $556 per session, or $556 for 3 times a week. If someone's like, oh my gosh, that's really expensive, it's like, yes, I totally understand what you're saying. Yeah. We just spent this entire time and we're talking about all these different things. Yeah. Like I said, the mechanic approach. When you go to a mechanic and they tell you need to fix your engine, do they try and sell you on what's happening, or they just say, hey, your engine's going to fall out if you don't fix it? And it's going to cost you $1,000. It's $1,000. Yeah, to fix your engine, right? So I learned this from DTS, which is like focus on the basics, and the basic things that I always focus on with my trainers is teaching them, look at the hips and shoulders.
Yeah.
Show people these are the areas, the biggest areas of movers. If
you run someone through the core 4, and they're not sold, then you suck.
You got it. And that's all it is, right? Like, at the end of the day, they're going to want to do something at the end of it, because you realize, all right, there's a gap. Cool. All right, so it's $556 to train with me bi-weekly. That's really expensive to fix this gap. Okay, there are other options. Downselling. So downselling would be like, there's 2 ways you can do it. One would be, all right, so on a bi-weekly basis, how much are you able to do?
Yeah, you always I think it's always a good move to get the number out of a prospect.
Yeah, because, and I tell them, I'm like, I don't want to waste time going back and forth talking to you. I'm like you know what it is. Yeah. You want to do it. What are you able to do?
Yeah.
I can do 250. I can do 300. I can do whatever. As an FM, for me, it's easier because now I started at the highest level, and you just told me what your value is, what you see the value of this is. Boom.
Well, if you get a number out of someone and you don't sign them or close them, that's pretty rare.
Very rare.
If you're new, but like if you've been in the game and you get a number out of someone, that's one of the hardest. Well, not really that hard, but like if you get a number out of a prospect and you don't close them, then you did not develop enough pain or consequences.
You got it. So then the next thing would be like, let's say they're like, I can do $100 or $200 a month. So something that I've got my trainers to work on is something called semi-private training, which is just team training.
Oh, right? You just changed the name?
I just changed the name because instead of calling it team training,
that's genius.
Because people are like boot camp, team training, like, oh, I can't do it. Semi-private training. It's like, what's that? Well, what's going to happen is because you can do $100 a month, I'm going to get you with other people can also do that, and it's going to be semi-private. Yeah. So instead of us privately training, we're going to train it 1 time a week, 2 times a week, 3 times a week with 3 other people.
That's so smart. That's a psychological brain hack.
Yeah.
A lot of sales, honestly, it's not like manipulation. It's just more wording, tonality.
Yep.
Right? I love tonality because I can tell someone the word, I can ask someone why like 20 different ways. Yeah. Right? Like Jeremy Minor?
Yep.
Yeah, top G. But no, the semi-private training, that's genius.
Because so I look at a semi-private training, hybrid training. Hybrid training, we have remote training now, right? Hybrid training would be like, okay, so if the objection is I can't make it in to this place all the time. All right, so we have a hybrid training model. Okay. What's that? whenever you're away, we'll meet on Zoom, we'll meet on whatever to meet with you.
Oh, that's got to be like recent, right? They didn't have that.
They added COVID.
Okay, yeah, okay,
right?
Makes sense.
And then so now in terms of semi-private training, it's just a drop down. So as soon as I hear the number, that's when I offer.
Yeah.
I don't offer until I know what is the investment that you're willing to put into it.
Yeah, well, it's a lot easier when you're starting at basically 1K a month because 99% can't do it.
So even if we sell level 1 right now, right? So it's like $324 biweekly.
Is there even a level 1?
Yeah, they introduced it. So now instead of starting with level 2,
there, they just started everybody at level 2.
Yeah, no,
even though some people had no business at level 2.
So now what they do is like if you are uncertified, you start at level 1.
And they're hiring people that are uncertified.
They hire people that are uncertified. Well, you always hire people
I know
uncertified.
that, but that's so fucked up.
Yeah. So, but no, here's the thing. I was uncertified when I started. So the gap of it, when I look at it, is like you have a certain amount of time to get your certification.
I think it's 3 months. Right?
Yeah, but it is difficult.
Yeah.
It's not an easy journey. So I tell people, I'm like, listen, you're uncertified. The journey that you're about to take is not going to be easy. Yeah. And if you want to take it, you can take it. But it would be easier for you to do your certification, come back, than for you to start with your certification. Because I don't want to hear you tell me, I got to do my cert. That's great, man. You have to show up to work.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not trying to be hard on you. I'm not trying to be that person that's like being that guy.
Yeah.
But the reality is I'm giving you the warning.
That's very fair.
Because I've done it.
Yeah.
And I know it's hard.
Yeah.
And it's not for everybody. No. So it's actually easier for you to just do the cert first and then come back. But if you want to do the cert and then get the job, it's a difficult journey. Man, it's not for everybody.
They're starting people level 1.
Yeah, well, they up the internal thing is that everyone makes more money now. They upped everyone's they upped all the paying salaries to training salaries.
Oh, so like level 2 isn't like people are making more than like 27 an hour.
Yeah. Probably so it's like 31 now.
Oh, life changing.
Yeah,
I mean it's better than nothing. Yeah.
Well, they added the inflation and then they added inflationary costs
and realized people can't live off of making.
And then they pretty much gave back. They gave back most of it to trainers.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
So like that was
that's also how Good Life makes money. I don't think people realize they make shit from. I mean, they don't not make nothing, but like memberships cover the rent, and then the trainers make the money.
Yeah. Well, so I'll give you an example of a high-paying gym. The membership will bring in somewhere around $3 to $4 million. Mm-hmm. The personal training department will only bring in 1 to 2.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Oh.
A lot of trainers think that the train because they see so much money coming in. But now you got to think about a gym that has 6,000 members. Mm-hmm. And the average rate is like, let's just use $80 to $100.
Yeah.
And you only see 1,000 of those members all the time.
Yeah.
But there's 6,000 members coming through. And that's a membership due on a monthly basis, bi-weekly basis. Membership makes so much more money. It's
what's MRR?
Yeah. It's that idea of the same like Planet Fitness. The only difference between Good Life and Planet Fitness, I'd use the biggest example, me being there for 12 years now, is Good Life actually cares. And I say it from a point of view, like, I agree with as a company, like our general philosophy is caring about Canadians and trying to bring them in and trying to get them healthy. And they've done a great job of that. If you look at it in terms of Canadians with a Good Life membership, I think it's like an average of it used to be like 1 in every 4 Canadians had a Good Life membership, right? I'm pretty sure it's a little bit lower now because there's other gyms. But like even like Teen Fitness, that's another great program that you have people coming into. That you have a lot of teens that are now getting gym memberships, which wasn't when I was around. I wish it was around. But you get 2 months of free gymming. And now if you actually look at the demographics of the gym, I see 18, 20, and teen 20-year-olds coming into the gym more so who were in Teen Fitness than ever before.
Yeah, you want to start them young, but not even like to manipulate them. It's good to have like the hobby and the habit.
Yeah.
Right? I think it's crazy where like parents are like, oh, my kid's going to stunt their growth. Like, no. When you're 9, 10, 11, 12, learn how to bench, deadlift, and squat.
Yeah, we've gone past that now.
I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of people that there's moms that still think creatine is a steroid. So I don't think that's ever gonna change, bro. But
no,
I don't know. I would always say to start them young because then it's like you develop the skills. If you start working out at like 12, by the time you're 22, you have a decade of working out.
Yep.
Right, and then like I mean, you borderline are an expert. I mean, granted, depending on if you're doing it logically.
Yeah, I got 4 kids, so all my kids, I'd say the basic thing that I teach them is we have swimming. I have a lot of kettlebells. I have like a whole bunch of kettlebells at home.
Yeah.
And then I have a home gym, but like they mainly spend time with the kettlebells.
Yeah, that's all you really need, though.
Swimming, the kettlebells, and then running. And those are the biggest things. I got my oldest daughter. She's going to be starting jiu-jitsu and gymnastics. Right?
Hey,
so like,
I love jiu-jitsu.
It's good. So like, I'm looking at it from a point of view, like I'm never big on getting kids in. I like sports, but I don't want to get my kids in like so wrapped up in like, they got to play the sport.
Yeah.
Until they're like, I want to play soccer. Okay, cool. How long is it actually going to take you to become a professional in terms of soccer? Right?
The window's already passed, bro. You got to start them at like 3.
No. I'd say you probably have to start them at 12. You have to give them, what you have to do is you give them good sports genetics. Right? So like gymnastics covers that, swimming covers that, and so does running.
Yeah, that's true.
So and then if you now put them into any sport, they're athletic.
Yeah.
And if you're athletic, you're good at anything.
Yeah.
I think kids get specialized in sports way too early now.
Your daughter's gonna muck up jiu-jitsu, bro.
Right? And that's like, oh yeah, she's stupid strong.
Yeah.
Oh man, she'll like. There's times now because she's 8 now, and I'm wrestling with her, and I'm like, oh, you're getting stronger.
Yeah.
Right.
That's crazy.
I used to wrestle with her when she was like a little baby, and she would just like start hitting me and get out.
Yeah.
I'm like, she's a strong one.
Dude, that's dope.
Yeah. So, but like I see it. So like when you get kids, you start seeing these types of things. So I see my kids, I'm like, okay, cool. And so, but the kettlebell thing is the number one thing. So they know how to squat. Yeah. They know how to pick it up.
Yep.
They know how to pick it up properly. So they know how to deadlift.
Yeah. Yep.
And my oldest knows how to overhead press it.
Perfect.
So right, and I got a little 5-pound bar. She knows how to do a front rack position. So I'm like, okay, training them to how to do these things. So now, as you said, in terms of becoming an expert, she's 8. By the time she's 18, she's gonna be a monster.
Yeah. 100%.
Right. And now, if any of them go into Olympic weightlifting, that's a whole other beast.
Oh yeah.
So competitive Olympic weightlifting, if you see the Chinese, Russians, and any Eastern European, they start their kids somewhere around like 6, just teaching them movements and patterns. We don't do that.
No.
And so now by the time we get to the Olympics, you'll see the 16-year-old or 18-year-old representing some Eastern European country, and they're just crushing it. And you're like, you're 30, and you're like, what the heck?
Yeah.
It's like, they're now experts when you just started when you were in university.
Yeah, 100%.
Right? So, yeah, we got to get better at that.
No, for sure.
If we want to compete.
Well, I mean, yeah, but I don't know. There's pros and cons of Canada.
Oh yeah, yeah, of course.
I don't think that's indicative of like if we based everything off like Olympic success and like how much you could like Olympic strength. Yeah, I think like Russia would. Well, actually, Russian just they dope, but Bulgaria's strong.
Yeah, Russia is no longer part. Well, they're not in the IOC right now.
Yeah,
until I think it was like 2028 or 2032. Actually, as long as they're battling with Ukraine, they're not in it.
I mean, my 2 cents on the Olympics is it's kind of controversial, but I think it should be completely like not drug tested. Like I want to actually see what the capabilities of humans are able to do.
Me too.
Like
they were talking about that
because it's like there's just like, bro, like people are always going to find a way to get a competitive advantage. So what if you were just like, fuck it, do whatever you want? Like, okay, I don't want people to die and take like trend, but like whatever, like just do your thing. And I want to see people like actually push the limits of human evolution.
So have you seen Icarus?
What Icarus is? That sounds like a gladiator movie.
So Icarus is a documentary. It was on Netflix. I don't think it's on Netflix anymore. Great movie. Watch it. It pretty much unrevealed. It starts off as like a guy that's testing steroids.
Okay.
For cycling. So he's testing EPO.
Yeah.
And so he runs something like a Tour de France without any sort of enhancements, and he comes dead last. He takes enhancements for a year, and he comes in a top 50 category. He hired the guy, Gregory Porchenskov, something like that, who is the Russian head of the WADA, and he hired him to do his blood testing, his doping regimens. During that actual documentary, it comes out about the whole Russia scandal. This is in 2014. Comes out during the documentary, and it turns in from one documentary to a whole other documentary. And this guy, I want to say he's lucky, but like it's not. It's just being there for the right time, like dang everything, because he doesn't know that's gonna happen. And then all of a sudden, this whole thing happens, and he happens to be, that documentary covers that whole thing from behind the scenes. Wow. This guy had to leave Russia, leave his family behind, and move to the U.S. because the fact that they were trying to kill him. Nice. And they killed two of his friends.
Nice.
And you hear about it. Great movie. Great. Definitely, if you have time, watch it. Because then it gets into that type of stuff Another good movie that explains more about steroids and other usages of enhancements. Bigger, Stronger, Faster.
I've heard of that one.
That one's a good one because Chris Bell, he does a good job of explaining it in a different way in terms of the demonization of it in North America. Well, use America more so than anything else. He does a good job of explaining that. But those two movies kind of changed my mindset on all the enhancement stuff and all that stuff. But I totally agree in terms of watching it.
Yeah.
Because like realistically, the biggest thing that's happening in that type of setting is you have people doing it and figuring out ways to cheat.
Exactly.
And then everyone's like, "Go my team, go country," and it's like your country's on.
Well, it's
drugs.
literally like what happened in the '90s with baseball. They like create. If you don't know what you're testing for, then you pass the test. So they literally I'm butchering the story, but like they basically just they created a different steroid, and everybody then started taking.
Yeah, the clear.
Yeah,
I remember that one. That was a good. That was another good one.
So like that's why I always find it fascinating when like everybody thinks athletes are natural. I mean, I'm sure there's some, but it's like if you're the top G, if you're the top of the top, like why wouldn't you try to do it if you can get a competitive advantage? Or especially where I get annoyed at is not even like, okay, like not even trying to get as strong as possible. It's recovery. Yeah. Right? Like they're putting their bodies through so much. They should be able to take whatever the fuck they want to recover with their joints and their muscles. I think
they just legalized marijuana in the
USADA or with UFC like 2 years ago.
And then also NBA. Because they were like, I think it was J.R. Smith that was talking about it, where you'd rather have people drink and have like liver toxins and all this other stuff than either take a cannabinoid drug or take a little pill or anything like that to recover. And
well, they suspended like Nick and Nate Diaz like 1,000 times from the UFC because of smoking weed. Like that doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't.
No. But anyways, going back to like, I guess for you, more about like mind shift. So like, what are some of the biggest obstacles that you faced? And then, like, kind of like, how did you take that and, like, you know, turn your life around, bro?
Biggest obstacle, I guess, like I said, we talked about the prison thing, and that was the biggest obstacle I faced. Yeah. And for me, the biggest way I turned my life around was just the focus, right? I adapted to my surroundings. The first thing I did is adapted. Like, three things. I adapted. I learn, any sort of setting I go into, I learn what's happening, right? And there's always a way to win. It's like a game. It's like gamify everything. So I look at it and I'm like, okay, what's the rules? If we want to play Monopoly right now, there are rules. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go read the rules and understand what is the point of this game, right? Because now, and once I understand the point of the game and I understand the rules of the game, I can play the game. That's adaptation. That's just adapting, right? And we do it in training as well. Adaptation in training is when you now, let's say I want to grow my bicep. If I keep on doing bicep curls, my biceps eventually can get bigger and stronger, right? Now, in order for that to happen, I need to adapt. So I'd say that's the first thing. Once I learned how to adapt, that was cool. Then from there, I focused on my dreams. I focused on my vision. I had tenacity. I chased after it. I didn't stop. I never let no take me down, right? So if someone says, no, you can't do that, it's like, okay, watch me, right? Because at the end of the day, like, it's the only person that can really stop me is me. I remember I had this in my locker when I was in high school. I wrote it down and I was like, only person that can stop you is you. And I had that idea when I was 16. I realized that there's nothing that can stop me in life. It doesn't matter how low I go. It doesn't matter where I go. The only thing that can stop me is me. If I decide that I don't want to go, then I'm not going, right? So that tenacity is what is going to set the difference in terms of struggling and pushing you to the next point. And then perseverance is another thing. Perseverance is being able to focus on something that you want to do, the goal, without allowing things to get in your way. So a great example of that's COVID. COVID took perseverance, especially in our industry, because our industry really crumbled. Like I've been in the fitness industry for a very long time, right? Like I started training people when I was 18. I'm 39, and so I've seen the wild west of it, where doing boot camps in your garage and in the park and going to the YMCA and getting clients and everything like that early in the days, and where it is now. And I'm going to tell you the honest truth, where it's perseverance that's going to make successful people in whatever walk of life you want to go into. Because if you persevere through hardships, you're going to survive. COVID was that big example that a lot of us can remember, where everything changed quickly. March of 2020, boom, world shuts down. Everyone thinks it's going to be 2 weeks. 2 years later, Right? So what did you do after the first week? What did you do after week 2? What did you do after week 4? Me, I scaled online. I started doing business online. I started working with people and doing a lot of I started doing other things, consulting and working on being able to make things happen. Because the reality is that I've realized from my time spent inside incarcerated that I'll never have this type of time again. Right? Never in my life. Like I can assume like, oh, like that type of thing will never happen again. It probably won't. The entire world is shut down and everyone telling you, don't worry about going to work, just stay home. That's not going to happen. So I spent time learning different crafts and learning how to sell, learning how to read, learning how to communicate, learning how to read charts and learning how to do stuff, right? And from that point, that was perseverance, because when I came out stronger. So like even like doing online components of like courses and stuff like that. I learned that during COVID.
Yeah.
Right? Like I was running so going back to the crypto thing, I was running a crypto call every Sunday on Zoom, talking to people at different cryptocurrencies and doing different stuff. I was on Clubhouse and we were able to grow, we had Crypto Club. We were able to grow it to 10,000 members all during COVID. Just all talking about cryptocurrency and like what to invest into and the mindset. Like for me, it's all about mindset. Even like during then, it was all about mindset. Like I was the type of person who would tell people, I'm like, it's going to go down, but it's not about if it goes up or down. It's about like, what's the point? Like, what are you trying to do? If you're investing in anything in life, you have to be willing to lose whatever you're putting in. So number one. Number two is once you invest and you're okay with what you're going to lose, then the real question is, when are you going to get out? When are you going to take out? When are you going to be out? And I get people to think like that. People weren't thinking like that because everyone, especially in the cryptocurrency sphere, is it's going to a million, keep on going, hold. And I didn't like that extremism, and I don't like that emotionalism. And I listen to like guys like Warren Buffett, who you want to not be emotional about any sort of investment or anything money-wise. Or emotional about many things, but like specifically money, you want to remove emotions. So I'm going back into perseverance. That was a big thing. So for me, those are the 3 things. So adaptability, tenacity, perseverance. Those 3 things. If you're able to do those 3 things, overcoming obstacles becomes very simple, because those are the 3 categories I look at in terms of getting results and focus.
I mean, the biggest thing that you said that I wrote down was like the perseverance thing, and the only thing that's stopping you is you.
Yeah.
And I tell that to clients all the time. Like, it's you versus you at the end of the day.
Yeah, man.
When it's on your own fitness journey, when it's in your life, when it's in your business, but it's you versus you. It's like, it's you versus the person in the mirror. And if it's like, I don't know, the only thing holding you back is yourself. And
yeah.
It's like, I also think like people try to strive for perfection, or like they compare themselves to social media, and it's just like that's a false reality.
That's competition versus collaboration. And a lot of people focus on competition when we should really be focusing on collaborating. How can I help you get better? How can you help me get better? How can we help each other get better?
Yeah, man.
Right? And if we focus on that, you find that the people on the top focus on those types of things. Right? So they're not trying to compete with each other. They're focusing on, how do we collaborate? How do I innovate? Right? Innovation, collaboration, these are all the words that you're hearing at the top. What you're not hearing as much is competition. Competition was something you probably heard in the early even in the early, I'd say the early 1900s, when you had the oil barons and you had them wanting to take control of everything. But even at that point, you had collaboration, because now once the antitrust laws came in, right, they started figuring out, okay, well, how can we now collaborate more? Collaboration is the word that you want to utilize, right? Innovation is what's going to really push you forward. And so, like, for me, you get stuck on social media. When you get stuck on social media, you get stuck in competition mode, where you see someone and they look good, or they're in this vacation, they're doing here, and instead of saying, celebrating them and saying, great job, looks great, you're like, man, I hate this person. I wish I was there. And it's like, you can be there. No one's stopping you. Right? Your mindset's stopping you. It happens in training a lot too. When I hire trainers, the hardest thing for a new trainer is looking at that person who's been there for a year or 2 years in front of you.
Oh, yeah.
And they're leaving and coming and doing whatever they want. And you're like, why do I have to stay here all day? It's like, because that person put in time. I have a trainer at my club who's been there for 20 years. Wow. So, he was with Extreme. He's now with Good Life, and he's been training. So when people see him and he doesn't show up a day or he shows up when he wants and leaves when he wants, and it's like, well, why does he get to? It's like
the effort and work in. Yeah.
You put 20 years in and talk to me 20 years later.
100%.
Right? Because the gap with personal training, especially in a commercial box gym setting, I guess it's anywhere, is everyone wants to get into it because they think it's glamorous and they think it's fun and all this great stuff, and then they realize it's not for them, and then they quit.
You know what's funny? I had a guy actually like last week. He lives close to me, so I actually respect what he did, and I did something similar. But basically, long story short, this guy called me and he texted me. I didn't answer the phone. He texted me. He's like, "Yo, I live nearby. I'm looking or thinking about becoming a trainer. Do you have any tips and advice?" And I was like, I'll call you in like 10 minutes because I was just like, I was gonna walk the dog, so I was like, fuck it, kill two birds, one stone. And I just remember I was like, bro, I'm going to take the first half of this conversation, do everything in my power to convince you not to do this industry. And then if you still don't listen to me because you're probably stubborn, you're not going to listen to me, then I can answer any questions you want.
Yep.
And it was funny because if I rewind the clock myself, I had a coach and he's one of my best friends. I love him to death. I'm actually working out with him tomorrow. His name's Natish. I call him Indian Hulk. And he was one of the biggest reasons I was able to lose the weight. It's a story for another day, but amazing guy. And he wasn't like, he's just like, okay, you don't need to eat chicken, rice, and broccoli. Like he understood what I needed, and he also like mad respect because he didn't like make me sign my life away. He didn't force me against my will. Like he actually, instead of continuing to like renew me, he knew it was better for me to learn shit on my own. And I don't know a lot of other coaches or trainers that would do that.
Yeah.
Like, they would just want to try to milk the guy.
Yep.
So mad respect for him. But when I went back, or when I turned back the clock and I actually told him the story about what I'm telling you, I thought it was really funny, is I told him exactly what Natish told me. And I was like, after I went to culinary, I lost the weight and went to culinary school, blah, blah, blah. And then I didn't really want to do the industry with culinary. So I was like, okay, fuck it. I want to help other people. And he's like, dude, don't do it. Because he worked a good life.
Yep.
And he's like, I don't know if you're cut out for this. And I don't think you should do it. And, and I was like, well, I want to give it a shot. And I don't blame him at knowing everything I know now. And it's not like we talked about before the pod, I don't hate good life. There's just certain ethics, but I think that's with like every company to a certain degree. And it's also how people get trained. Right? Like, I'm sure if it would be I would have a much different outlook on it if like you trained me versus the other person that we talked about.
Yeah.
And it's just certain, I don't know, philosophies. But I thought that was a really funny conversation because by the end of it, I was like telling him, okay, you could start a Good Life, LA Fitness, whatever, or you could do what I'm doing. Because again, he's seeing me 5 years in the future, and I kept telling him that. I had a conversation with my buddy who is doing like insurance and trying to run his own business, and he's 6 months into it, and he's trying to compare himself to me. And I'm like, bro, I'm year 5, 6 in business. Most businesses fail. 90% of businesses fail after 6 months. So I told this guy, I'm like, dude, I think his name was Ariel or something. But I'm like, bro, this is all the stuff you need to do, but you're seeing me 5 years ahead of time. If you want to give it a shot, go work at like one of these commercial gyms and realize you probably hate this, right? But if you get through the first 3-6 months, then it's fine. You can do it. But if you want to do it on your own, because he's like, yeah, I want to start my own company. I'm like, it's not gonna happen. Like, you're not just like, first of all, good luck getting clients and getting leads and then figuring out marketing and then sales. I was like, dude, have you ever sold anything? He's like, no. I'm like, okay, well then go to Good Life. You know what I mean?
Learn the skill. I
was like, because then if at least at the bare minimum, if you learn the skill of sales, you can apply it to almost any industry. And and at the end of the call, he was like, dude, I really think you just saved me like 2 years of my life. I was like, that's why I called you. Right. And I'm like, just if anything, at anything, like you want to explore the fitness thing, that's great. But like, learn sales. Basically, right? And I thought that was really funny. But it's not like it's actually the third person that's asked me advice in terms of like, and I kind of tell him the same thing. It's not like I'm not worried about like competition. I even told him at the beginning, I'm like, bro, I'm not trying to be all negative Nancy here and like I'm worried that you're gonna take my fucking clients, right? There's enough to go around. But it's like, dude, I'm telling you this because I wish I had, well, in a way Natish did it, just not as blunt. And I don't think people think it's not all cut out the same. Like, it's not all glamorous, and there's so many different things that people don't realize that it's not just like going to the gym and training someone. I mean, you can do that. There are some people that do that, but then you can't really like make a decent amount of money. You know what I mean? Like, it's not even like decent. Like, you're making the same as like, I don't know, you mean like 60 grand a year. And that's not like, okay, like it's not terrible. That's the medium income of Toronto. But it's like, if that's, you just basically want to work a 9 to 5 and train people, or instead of 9 to 5, nobody's working, like, but whatever. You have your 6 hours a day of clients and that's it. But like, if you want to go to the next level, there's so many different other avenues and aspects that like most people don't realize. And
so when I hire people or when I do an interview, I spend the first 10 to 15 minutes telling them that this is the worst job you're ever going to have.
That's why you're good. I wish I was told that.
Yeah. I'm like, cause like, listen, kid, listen, like, this is not the job for everybody. And I'm not going to tell you that I need you, cause I don't. What I'm going to tell you is this, it's going to be the hardest job you ever have to do. It's going to be a very performance based, whether you're working here or not. If you want to get in this industry, you need to want to actually get in this industry.
Yeah.
You need to be passionate about it.
You want to help change people's fucking lives.
Because that's the thing that, like, I look at it from a point of view. When I started, I was willing to do it for free. And I was doing it for free.
Literally same thing. Literally same thing, right? Because I had family members, friends reach out to me. They're like, how'd you do? I mean, they wouldn't do shit, because when you pay, you pay attention. When you don't pay, you don't pay attention.
You got it.
100%.
So I look at it, I'm like, you gotta be willing to, like, this is not a job. This is a career. It's a business you're entering into. It's an industry. Once you enter into this industry, if you want to enter into it, you can take it as far as you want.
Yeah.
But you need to learn skill sets. I heard a guy the other day, and I was like, listen, every single thing I tell you to do, you're going to need to do. 100%. Like, the first thing you need to do is sign up for this course. And I'm like, because right now I'm hiring you based on the fact that you have the looks, you have this, you have that. But I'm like, where you're missing right now is knowledge.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm willing to give you a chance. If you're willing to take it, cool. We can hang out here for a bit. But you're going to need to do courses.
Yeah.
Do you have the money to invest in the courses right now?
Yeah.
If the answer is no, then don't take this job.
Yeah.
Because it's just going to end up being very negative for you.
Yeah.
Right? I found every single person I hire, and every single time someone quits and a turnover and everything like that, I look at, okay, how could I have, what did I say in my interview that made this person say yes? I had one person say, after saying all this, they're like, you motivated me to take this. I'm like, I don't know how I motivated you.
Yeah.
I said, this is the worst job ever. It's like, I'm telling you the honest truth.
Yeah.
And like, the one thing I always look at is that as the manager, you always get the let's say the crappy end of the stick.
Yeah, you get the blame.
Yeah, because it's like, oh, it's your fault. It's like, listen, like, I don't own the company, right? I work like just how you work. Like, every company has a bad rap.
Yeah,
like I can look at the dirt in every company, but the gap, like, I'm not looking for that type of stuff, right? Because if I spend my time looking at that stuff, then what's gonna happen is I'm not gonna look for success. I'm not gonna look for how I can be successful. I'm not gonna look for how I can collaborate, how I can innovate. What I'm gonna look at is that, oh, this place sucks, and then no matter what, if I can choose Good Life, LA Fitness, Crunch, wherever.
Yeah.
It all can suck. Right? No matter what. Like, there's no perfect corporate company.
Yeah.
Now, realistically, if I want to start my own company, then I can implement my own things and I can figure out what works and what doesn't. But you know what might end up happening if this company gets too big? It'll end up just like a Good Life, a Crunch, or any of those other places, because a lot of those corporate structures are in place to make a company survive. And some of these things are things that we don't like as humans and as different people, but we also have to look at it from all those other points of views. So I always tell people, I'm like, listen, like, it's not the best industry. Spend time thinking about it. But also, like, always think about, like, I always, like, even when I talk to kids that are like 18 or like, oh, I want to be a trainer. Cool. I'm like, so here's what you're going to do. Before you go apply anywhere, start learning skills from other places. Yep. Like, just like, this should be if this is your end goal, start learning skill sets other places. I learned how to sell at Foot Locker.
Yep.
I was a top salesperson at 18 years old at Foot Locker Canada. I worked there for a year and a half. I went to Sports Check, became the top salesperson there. Right? I did phone sales. I did door-to-door. I did all these other stuff. I learned how to talk to people on the midway at the exhibition. Right? I got a job at the exhibition for every summer. And I spent 12 hours every single day on a mic grabbing people. Hey, you, come to my game. Hey, you, come to the game. I learned how to prospect there, right? So, like, there's skills that I brought that Good Life never taught me. The only thing that I learned at Good Life that really was how to systemize all my skills. And then from there, I looked at, okay, so here's the system that they're running. How do I innovate it even more to make it more duplicatable for other people? Mm-hmm. And that's all it is, because I'm like, what's the gap? Because they can't have that many trainers who start and not do well. So even like right now, the trainers who do well with me are the ones who just listen. The trainers who don't do so well with me are the ones who are fighting their own personal battles. And I use that word because it's like, if I say, all right, when you're sitting down, Adam, when you go to the point of talking to someone, I want you to get to the point of rejection. Okay? So you're going to go to the point where you ask. Yep. They're probably going to say no, but I need you to get to that point.
You have to get used to getting rejected.
And then you're like, okay, cool. You go out on the floor, you talk to someone, hey, how's it going, blah, 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 blah. All right, have a nice day. All right, so what happened? Oh, I didn't ask. Why didn't you ask?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm afraid of the rejection. It's like, okay, you're not listening to me now then.
No, that's actually one of the things that I was always complimented on.
Yeah.
I think that's the word. Like, I've always done well. I wish I could apply it to like women, but I can't. But when it comes to business, I don't give a shit about rejection, because ultimately, like, I think it's just because, like, bro, like, I know what I'm doing. You want help, great. You don't want help, cool. Like,
you got it.
You want to help, you want to ask for help for free, cool. I don't mind. Like, but there's no harm in asking.
Yeah.
The only harm in asking is if you've asked the guy already. Like, don't go up to the same person like 27 times. That's just weird. I mean, like, you could befriend not clients, you can befriend members.
That's called gym friends.
Yeah, exactly.
You gotta make gym friends.
But I remember, like, I just never, even still to this day, I don't take no for an answer. Like, I'll just follow up with people until they politely or not politely tell me to fuck off.
That's perseverance.
Or they block my number. And honestly, that's okay, because that means I did my job.
Yeah.
I made them DQ me, or like I'll follow up with them until, like, or I'll be on a call with them and I'll push it to the point where they'll be like, they'll run out of logical excuses to say, and then at that point,
decision.
Yeah, exactly. I'll be like, at this point, bro, like, you've told me 1, 2, 3, 4 bullshit. Now you're telling me more bullshit. Like, oh, I need to talk to my doctor about this, or I'm thinking about gastric bypass. Like, what is this? Or like, let's move forward. And then if it's not, and I've had people like, a week ago, I had a 400-pound dad on a call. It's really sad, actually. He was a 400-pound dad, watched my story. He was like, I'm super ready to get started, all this stuff. No issues, no questions, no objections, drop price. And he's like, okay, cool, let me grab my credit card. Hung up the phone. That's happened before. And it's like I can't help someone that doesn't want help. Yeah. Right? But it's not also, bro, like, why did you just waste the last hour of both of our lives?
Yeah.
Because I talked to him on the phone like 20 minutes before booking, well, not like right before booking the call, but like the day before.
Yeah.
Right?
Be honest. I always tell people, I always tell my trainers, I'm like, when someone does something, I always say, just be human. Yeah. So it's like, part of being human is like being honest. Say, hey man, you know what? I don't have the money for that right now. I want to do it, but like, this is not in what I can spend. Yeah. So thank you for your time. I hope I didn't waste it. Moving on. No. Right. 100%. And that's human.
That's fucking human.
Right. But like, let me get my credit card. Hang up. That's a coward.
That's that's unfortunately what it is. And honestly, with an archetype of app person, it's not been the first time that's happened. I think off the top of my head, like 5 other times that's happened, and they're all 300, 350, 400. Yeah. They've been like this for 10, 20 years.
It's fearful of failure. Like, they don't want to put the investment in at this point, and they realize, like, oh, this is what's going to cost. Oh, I don't know.
And then it's just also ultimately, though, what saddens me, because I was actually bummed out, because it was like, bro, you have 2 kids and you're not doing well. You're 400. If it's not now, then when? Yeah. You know, and it's like, that's not for. I'm not telling that person to like manipulate him in any way. I just know, because I've been in the shoes. Yep. Right. But it's like, again, you can only lead a horse to water. You can't force it to drink. But I don't get that. But I want to do some rapid fire. Well, not rapid fire, but I want to do some like quick questions regarding like sales and business.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, what are some of the biggest mistakes you see trainers make trying to sell? I mean, we kind of touched on it a bit, like inauthenticity, but is there anything else you can think of?
They go for the outcome first before they actually go for the service.
What do you mean by that?
So, I'll give you an example. I was talking with one of my trainers on the floor. He was talking to an old trainer who was at the company, and I know how the old trainer sells, and
it's different, yeah.
It's different, and I'm like, so he told you not to focus on the outcome. He's right on that. Yeah. But he's focusing on the outcome because he also told you to find people that want training.
That doesn't work.
That's an outcome base, right? So you can't not focus on the outcome and then say find people that want training. I said, like, the goal of this,
it's like finding a needle in a haystack.
You got it.
Doesn't exist.
You got it. So
well, it's very rare.
So I'm like, your goal is not to find people that want training. Your goal is to just find opportunities. So in order to find opportunities, just talk to a lot of people. And in the process of talking to a lot of people, it's like going on a gym floor with you, and I'm like, okay, cool. I see you working out. I'm like, hey, man, what's going on? What are you working on today? Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, is there anything you need help with? No? All right, cool, man. If there's something you need help with, that's what you're going to say to me. Yeah, I have a bum shoulder. I have a bum hip. I have a bum knee. I want to grow my quads. I want to grow my chest. Cool. I can show you a couple things. Is that something that interests you? Yeah. All right, cool. Building trust with you, right? I'm like, the new model, the thing I'm showing you guys all the time is like 40% of the interactions you should be having is just building trust. Yeah. Right? If you can just build trust with people, automatically when I get to the price presentation with you, you're more likely to say yes because you trust me. Yeah. But if you don't trust me, it doesn't matter what the price I'm showing you, you're going to be like, I don't really trust the fact you're going to help me. Yeah, therefore, I'm not going to say anything. Yeah. So I'd say a lot of new trainers struggle with the outcome, because they want to know if the person's going to say yes already. Yeah. So they're qualifying the person and wanting to know, okay, is this person going to say yes? So, Adam, do you want to buy personal training? No. All right, man. Well, when you want to buy personal training, let's talk. Right? And it's like, that's not, then so what you're leaving is to chance. And at that point, so now when you want to buy personal training, guess what you're going to do? You're going to go to the person who naturally influences you, whoever it is, whether it's online, in person, whatever, because you have trust with that person. So now if you focus on trust instead of outcome, now what happens is, okay, as I'm like, here's some gap, here's this, here's a bunch of information for you on my social media, in person, whatever. Yeah. Guess what's going to happen now? You're going to contact me because now I've focused on putting trust and building trust with you.
No, that's literally what I do. When someone's not, well, it depends if they booked the call or not, but when someone's hesitant to book a call with me, like, I'm not going to put a gun to their head.
Yeah.
I just I do exactly what you say. I send them my link tree, I send them my app school community, and I'm like, here, join the school community. And then if they do, I've had people that join the school community, they watch some of the shit, and then a couple months later, they're like, okay, fine, I'm sick of waiting now. Let's sometimes they still don't pan out, but whatever. At least they take the action to like book the call.
Yeah, because you've built trust with them, and it's trust. Sometimes it takes like there's a thing that says it takes like 8 interactions with someone for someone to say yes to you. That makes sense. So
there's also the Google rule of 7.
Yep.
The 7 hours of content over 11 different touch points.
Yep. So it's like there's so many. There's very rare for someone to say yes. So here's another thing I always utilize. Okay, I'm gonna write this down because it's kind of. So there is a 30% window of people that don't want to actually train with you. Okay, they think they know everything and they're good. There's a 60% window of people that are like, you know what, I might want to train with you, but like I need to know more. And then there's a 10% window of all you gotta do is just ask and they say yes. Those are the unicorns. So those are people that walk in and say, I want personal training. They've already come to the decision.
That's so rare,
right? Exactly. So you're gonna go on the gym floor today.
It's not even 1 out of 100.
Well, it is 1 out of 100 based off of these numbers, right? So, but now if you look at it from a point of view that if you go on the gym floor, you talk to people, and you got a lot of people in your gym floor who are the 30%ers who are like, I know what I'm doing. Those people, all you gotta do is spread awareness.
Yeah,
that's it. So I look at it and I get my trainers to identify where are they. So if this person's someone who knows what they're doing, they're great. Just give them awareness. Just give awareness. Talk to them. The 60%. Those are the people who are willing to talk to you. They have awareness of where they're at. You have to create urgency for them to decide. For that point, that person now says, okay, you know what? I need to make a decision. And then the 10%, just ask.
Yeah.
But now with everybody, you just have to ask all the time. And this is where the rejection comes in.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, that 30% is always going to say no. But now if you create awareness, they're more likely to say no for the first time, but then in 3, 4, 5, 6 months, 2 years, 5 years, 90 days, whatever, they're going to say yes when the need comes up because you've been not trying to get them to say yes, you've been just giving them information.
You're trying to help.
Exactly.
Right?
So I find like when you can, I give my trainers this understanding and thought because at that point now, they're not trying to go on the floor and just trying to get yeses from everybody. Yeah. They're going on the floor and finding people to help. Yeah. Now, here's where the gap is. The gap is you need to make money. Yeah. So now you go on the floor and now you're going straight to you need to buy training. Nah. And it's like, I didn't tell you to do that.
It's a long-term game, but that's what I would say a lot of trainers, especially like new ones, they lose sight on that, but I don't really blame them because it's also like, at least with me, like I had a shit ton of pressure on me, bro. Like you had to hit these numbers. Yeah. Bro, like I had stress hives. Yeah. I had to get an antibiotic for cream on my stress hives.
Yeah, like it's hard because then that's the corporate setting, right? Like I don't focus on the numbers so much as I focus on the actions. Yeah. Because the actions are what's going to equal the numbers.
Well, I think that makes you a good leader and like a good manager. I mean, like I don't want to. I had a much different experience when I was at Good Life with who. What's the word? Managed me. Yeah. I can't necessarily envy him or like he had his stats and things to get to that point, but the way he went about it, I think could have been a bit more personable.
It happens. And it happens because there's different ways of leadership. And I look at it from a point of, for me, it's like, if I can I've learned just from, like I said, I spent the last 3 years just looking at systems. Yeah. So it's like, if I just focus on numbers, that's focusing on what I can do. Right? And it's like, okay, here's what I can do. I know that I can go on the gym floor and I can sell everything. But the reality is that my job is not to do that. So now it's like, how do I motivate? How do I inspire? How do I get this person to do this? All right, so like the number one thing I can just focus on is the actions. My number one thing is that if you're not doing the actions, we have a problem. Because at that point, if you're lying to me about the actions, so I've had trainers before who just lied to me about the actions. And that's I did this. And I'm like, well, why are you lying to me? Exactly. I can't help you if you're lying to me.
That's like the same thing with coaching, dude. Yeah. Like, help me, help you, help me, help you. Like, what the fuck? It's communication. That's crazy.
That's it, right? Now, I've had trainers, I'm like, okay, I need you to talk to 10 people for every day you come in. Yeah. All right, I did it. I watched them stand at the stairwell and did nothing. And it's like, okay, man, like this, you can't be mad at me for this,
100%.
because I'm telling you what to do and telling you the game plan. If you don't want to do it, that's totally different than what it is. And if you're scared, if you're afraid, that's self-development. That I can't do that for you.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's like, and I tell everyone, I'm like, this is a self-development journey. That's another gap that a lot of trainers struggle with, which is self-development. Because you are in the self-development industry. How much time are you spending developing yourself? How many books you're reading? How many podcasts you listen to? Like, what are you doing? And a lot of trainers struggle with that because they're kind of being, instead of content creators, they're content consumers.
Oh, yeah.
So at that point, they're consuming content that's not helping them or developing them. So they're watching, like on social media, on Instagram specifically, if you're liking a lot of girls with booties, right? Guess what Instagram's going to feed you? A lot of girls with booties. How is that motivating you to make more money? How's that teaching you or developing you to do anything? It's developing a lust problem that you have. And now all of a sudden, you're looking at the gym floor and you're like, oh my gosh, all these girls. It's like, what are we here for?
Honestly,
you're no longer a patron of the gym. You are a person that's working at the gym. How do you help people? And that, I think that's where trainers, that's another thing that trainers struggle with.
Yeah, on that note, like with Instagram specifically, you could use it as a tool for not even education, but like there's a setting for favorites.
Yep.
I think you can have like 50 favorites, and like then you can just change your feed from everything, like all the bullshit, to just your favorites.
Yep.
And if you follow 50 not guys, but whatever, follow 50 entrepreneurs or educators or trainers that actually aren't stupid, and you just watch that, then at least, in the same thing with like YouTube, like all of my YouTube, I'll watch Mr. Beast occasionally, but like other than that, like give me some dopamine, but other than that, like it's pretty much all business stuff, right? Or like mindset stuff, right? Because it's like you like you said, you always have to work on yourself. I'm not a big book reader just because of like I don't have the attention span for that. But then that's why I stick.
I'll give you a trick in terms of book reading, because I'm not a big book reader either.
Well, I do. If I have to read a book, I'll have the audio version.
Yes.
And like I'll listen to it and read it at the same time.
Yes, that's what I do.
But still, when I do that, my brain's like damaged.
Yeah.
I was dropped too many times as a child. Like I don't retain the information.
Yeah.
It's so frustrating. The only time I could retain the information is if I did that, like the audio and the read at the same time, and then I also stopped and took notes.
Yep.
Right? So then it's like 3 different touch points.
Yep.
But then that's a lot of work. Like it's like
a lot of work to read.
And it's not enjoyable too.
Yeah,
I would only do that if it was like, that's the only way I could actually learn. If it was like I had to take a course, that's pretty much how I did it. And I took like courses for like certain certs. That's how I did it, basically.
Yeah. So one thing I do for reading, because I am a reader now, and one of the things I do for reading is I set a timer.
Okay.
So the number one thing I do is I set a 10-minute timer. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna read for 10 minutes. My thing is not, if I read a page and it takes me 10 minutes, great, I did the timer. The job, it's like the building a muscle. It's the same thing, right? And it's how do I build my attention span? It's like, okay, I got this time frame. I'm going to do it within the time frame. I got 10 minutes. I'm reading. So every morning I read. I sit down and I read. I get my book. I read. I have a spot for reading. In my office, I have tons of books. If I do the massage chair, right? It's 15 minutes. I have a book. I always try and find habit stacking. So I look at that, and then I also look at timers.
Yeah.
Because in terms of like, I'm teaching myself how to play piano, right? I put a 10-minute timer on. I just continue playing. Because I look at it from a point of view that I'm building this habit. I have to be regimented about it, and I got to do it on a regular basis. Reading is a habit, and you can get better at it, but that would be one way. Another one is Audible or audio books. Yeah. So while I'm driving, if I need to read something, if I want to read something, I'm listening to it.
Yeah.
And then, you got the multiple touch points, but they also say the fact of like, if you just listen to a book, you're more likely to retain something.
Yeah.
And I remember Eric Thomas said this, he said, I don't read a book to finish it. I read a book till I get something out of it.
Well, that's actually, Hermosi makes a good point on this topic. He has like, there's people that are like, oh, I read 500 books. I read a book a week. I read a book a day. Bro, you can't do shit with that much information.
Yeah.
So I don't know what his specific number was, but there's like 10 or 20 books that he always rereads.
Yep.
I mean, granted, now he has his own books that are like Bibles.
Yep.
But like, if that's the point. You wanna actually take the information and apply it.
Yep.
And that's the same thing with like Instagram or YouTube or whatever, all these social medias. There's no point in consuming the content if you're not going to take action and actually do it. But that's what the difference between doers and people that are successful. They listen to something, they take action. They get advice from something, they take action. But a lot of people, like 99%, they'll just watch this YouTube video and then shit on to the next one.
Yep.
I'll watch a YouTube video, I'll pause it, I'll put a reminder in my phone to like either watch the video again or take action on what that person is saying.
Yep.
Right? But a lot of people don't do that.
I pause and take action all the time.
Yeah.
Even with like YouTube, because I'm learning, like I'm 30, so I'm learning how to like utilize all these different avenues. So I'm like, YouTube's my new adventure.
Oh yeah.
Where it's like understanding SEO, understanding all these things. So I'm like watching these videos. I'm like, okay, cool. And it's like, say, what do you need to have on your YouTube video, or what do you have in a YouTube channel? So like, okay, cool. So I'll pause it and I'm like, okay, is this there? All right. So it's like, how do I make, if I want to upload a video, because I have videos to just upload. So I'm like, okay, what type of thing is already being posted on that video?
Okay.
So I have the copy and paste.
Yeah.
Right. So copy and paste keywords, copy and paste descriptions.
Yeah.
That are things that are going to be in every video.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, I never knew this could happen.
Yeah.
And
like
that
the
was
default setting.
Yeah. So I'm like, oh, I never knew I could do that. Yeah. I learned that because like I grew up with YouTube, but never did anything with YouTube.
I'm gonna send you a couple things that I think will help. There's one called vidIQ, and there's one called.
I have vidIQ.
Okay, so that's good. And then, do you know what Riverside is?
Riverside, yep, I use that for podcasting now.
Okay, so then what you should do as well, like if you're doing like a YouTube video, take your YouTube video, put it in Riverside, and then it'll give you the keywords and the description and the chapters.
Ooh, nice.
Because the chapters help with SEO, and then also it'll give you a summary on Riverside's not good, but
no, I noticed that. But I'm just started working with Riverside now.
But the vidIQ summary. Because if you prompt it with like the keywords, then it'll figure, and then it'll give you like 2 sentences of a summary with SEO. It's really.
Ooh,
solid.
I'm gonna take a look at that.
Yeah.
vidIQ is something I got into, and I'm like, oh, this is good.
It's pretty solid.
Yeah, it also helps me gamify.
Yeah, because like you want the 98.
Yeah.
I can never get it. Very rarely I get it to 100, but as long as it's within 90 to 95, I'm a happy guy.
Yeah, I'm always like, the titles. I'm like 90. I'm like, oh, nice.
Yeah.
I'm a game, like if I can gamify something, my life's easier.
Yeah, 100%. I love that. So the last question, I mean, we talked a lot. Honestly, we went all over the place. The last thing I was curious to your thoughts about, if there's trainers watching this, which I would imagine there would be in terms of like increasing. Not LTV because that's dumb, but like retention and long-term like renewals. I mean, obviously the easy answer is don't suck at your job, but like I don't know, is there another strategy, or it's just like,
okay, I'll give you the example. When I started training, it was a 70% renewal rate. That's what you're told you're supposed to have.
That seems low.
That's high.
Is it?
Yeah, think about it from a point of view. You have 15 clients. So use Good Life for example. You have 15 clients. If you have a 70% renewal rate, it means you'll keep 12 clients.
Oh, when you put it like that, okay, it is
right.
high,
so then at that point, you only need to find 3 new clients every year.
Yeah, that's a valid point.
Right. So that's not hard. So now here's the thing. That's when I started. That was 12 years ago.
So now it's probably like 50.
No, it's 30.
What the fuck?
Yeah, it dropped really low after COVID.
God.
Because there's 2 things that end up happening with COVID. Right. One is that all the top trainers left the company.
That's true.
And they started their own thing or changed things or did whatever. And then, so now there's a whole new crop of trainers that are coming in. So that whole new crop of trainers that are coming in now don't know how to keep retention. And so now what we're finding is that the highest retention is amongst the highest level trainers.
Okay, that makes
so
sense.
like the level 7s, level 6s, level 5s, they have 90% renewal rates.
Well, and also when people pay attention, they're more likely to...
Yeah, got it. Yeah. So there's 2 things that I would say in terms of bringing renewal rates up. One is to focus on upping your prices.
Yeah.
So like if you're utilizing the Good Life model, moving up levels.
Yeah.
If you're outside and independent, up your prices.
Yeah, 100%.
Right? But up your prices for a reason.
Yeah.
So don't like just up your prices for the sake of upping your prices.
Yeah.
Take courses.
Yeah.
Because if you're upping your prices and you haven't taken a course and you're the same person from last year, then your clients can be like, why are we upping the price again?
Yeah.
Oh, because it's, inflation. It's like, that's great, but what are you providing?
No, 100%.
Right? So it's like, take some courses, FST, take some like muscle intelligence, some courses where you're going to involve yourself and learn, right? Neurokinetics, stuff like that. And at that point, if you can up your prices, we talked about it where you can take less clients.
Yeah, but it's still the same.
It's still the same value.
It's like, bro, yeah. If you up your price, well, you shouldn't double it. But like, if you're charging 50 and you charge now 60, and 10% of your clients drop off, you're still literally making the same.
You got it. So, and the next thing in terms of it, I would say the biggest thing is from the beginning, you have to start talking about the renewal. So the way that I find the renewal works is that if I sign you up as a client, my main goal is, like I said, I gamify. So my main goal is to figure out how do I keep you in the fitness industry and keep you coming in. As long as you can afford me, you're gonna keep me. As long as I'm valuable to you, you're gonna continue working with me. Right? It's like, how did Tim Grover train with Michael Jordan for 12, 15 years? right? Then he trained with Kobe Bryant, and LeBron James trains with Mike Mancias. Like, all these trainers are training with their athletes for this much time because they have these goals that they're focused on.
And they get results, and they like them.
You
and
got
they
it. So one of the biggest things is, like, how do you get your client to focus on goals that are just bigger than weight loss, or like goals that don't have endings?
Yeah.
Right. So, like, what's their Super Bowl?
Yeah.
How do I get someone into that? Right. So, like, if I can get someone to focus on their Super Bowl, and every year we have this big goal, like, I can keep you.
Yeah.
Right. So that's what I focus on, because then that's health. When someone tells me in the beginning, like, I want to be fit, I'm like, cool. What does that mean to you?
Oh, no. My favorite is I want to be toned.
Yeah. Like,
bro, what the fuck does that mean?
Yeah. Tone to me is like colors.
Yeah.
Right. So, but no, when someone says I want to be fit, I'm like, okay, what does that mean to you? And then I always have a computer in front of me, and I'm sitting in front of a computer. I have Google, and they're like, all right, so when you say fit, here are the images, and I go image search.
Like body fat percentage chart?
Yeah, whatever it shows. Yeah. So I put fit, image.
Oh,
and they're like,
okay.
I'm like, so what does that mean? Because this is when you say fit. Here's what Google. What's what it means in Google.
That's
Google search engine.
That's so valid, because a lot of people, their brains, their visual.
You got it. Right? So then I'm like, okay, so like fitness is an identity. Being fit is an identity. So now, what's the identity you want? And then we start talking about that and building the identity. And at that point, then I start trying to figure out things I can get into. So whether it be axe throwing leagues, soccer, basketball, whatever it is, Tough Mudders, get them involved in something that's bigger than themselves. Powerlifting, bodybuilding, whatever it is. Like, I don't, it doesn't matter to me what it is, because at the end of the day, I know I can help them as long as it's a physical thing. Once I get them into that, they're more likely to stay with me for the long term, because now they're doing something that they enjoy. Mm-hmm. So if it's like, I run a Tough Mudder every year and I want to make sure I'm good for it, that's what they have me for, right? And then there's general health and all that stuff, which is important, but general health comes from just being fit and healthy, which if I run, let's say I run the CN Tower, right? Every year I run it, I have to stay fit and healthy for that. If I run marathons, I have to stay fit and healthy. Even if I powerlift, I need to stay fit and healthy. Right? I don't prescribe to being the lazy power lifter. I make fun of it. I like it. I joke around with it, but like, I still need to work on my VO2 max. I got to work on my cardiorespiratory fitness, because there's a whole life that I have to live outside of powerlifting. I like lifting really heavy, so I focus on mobility. I focus on stability, and I'm very stable because I powerlift. But now I got to focus on mobility, because that's a weakness for powerlifters, right? So like, but powerlifting helps me focus on a goal that's bigger than myself. I pick one. I used to pick three. The older I get, the less I do. So like, I pick one thing I can go to, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do one tournament, one thing, and go show up there. And it'll happen every year. I just pick one, right? And I'm like, okay, until it's normally around the fall, I find whatever's happening and I pick one and I train for it. I do a 9-week prep. I get ready. That I find, if I had a trainer, that would keep me going, right? And this is something like Chris Fudge talks about. He's a powerlifter. He works for Good Life, level 7.
Level 7. Oh, Chris, the CT Fudge?
Yes, CT Fudge. Yeah. So he talks about, like, he's actually gonna be at my club in the next couple of weeks doing a powerlifting course.
Yeah, he's a smart guy.
He's a smart guy. And so one thing he talks about is, like, he has a lot of clients who are powerlifters. He got them into powerlifting. He's been training them for a lot of times, and they renew with him. He's a great coach. But it's also another big thing. I think it's huge, and this is probably, if I was to forget everything else I said, would be like this. If someone said, I'm going to pay $70 an hour, right? How much value are you giving in each session? Are you stopping at $70, or are you giving $100? What does $100 value look like? They need to feel like they're getting a deal from you. They can't feel like they're paying exactly. So if you're charging, we talked about $20 an hour, does it feel like $20 an hour?
And
it probably will be.
No, but that's what I mean. They're probably getting
so
a service,
low.
right?
You're going to be like, man, I'm not making, and then in your mind, you're like, I'm not making enough. I'm giving you a deal. I'm doing all this stuff. Well, stop giving that. Like, how about you charge what it is that you want, and then focus on giving out that service? And I think if you were to do that, I know if you were able to do that, because that's the thing that a lot of higher level trainers, they give the service of their level.
Yeah.
Right? And more. And they have all these different certifications. So the other thing I would look at, and this will be the last thing, to raise your renewal rates, is focus on, I'd say there'd be 4 certs I'd focus on. One is a nutrition cert. The other is some sort of assessment and anatomy cert. Another one would be some sort of like strength-based cert. Mm-hmm. And then the last one would be a stretch-based cert.
That's all really valid.
Right?
I can attest to that.
Yeah. And if you can get those 4,
and then you're covered.
You're covered. Yeah. And then I would focus on either mastering one of those things.
Oh, yeah.
So then if you're going to master, you got it. So now you want to dive deep into it. So if it's nutrition, take every nutrition cert that comes out and just be the master of nutrition. If it's assessments, then go down to every assessment course and become the master of assessments. Strength, same thing. And so does stretching, right? Focus on one of those 4 things with your clients and become a master at it while you can do everything else, and you will have people for life. And the last thing, treat people like gold. Because clients don't grow on trees. I've had trainers literally treat clients horribly. Like, and they blame clients. Oh, my client doesn't want to come in. It's like, you're the motivator. You know what the client did to motivate themselves? They hired you. So right now, they're like, all right, here's my money.
Yeah.
Get me in here. Oh, my client doesn't want to come in. Oh, my client doesn't care. Oh, they don't care enough. They cared enough to purchase you, to purchase your services. And that's what they said. Here's my money. Get me in. At that point, it's your job as a personal trainer to now figure out, how am I going to get this person in? What am I going to do? How am I going to actually motivate this person? Now, this is where the self-development comes in. If your gap is getting people in, you need to start learning, how do I get people in? How do I motivate people? This is where YouTube, Instagram, Google, all those different things, books, all these things are what you want to do. So if you keep on self-developing yourself and you keep getting people as you get getting people results, your retention will start going up because people are getting results. Yeah. So if we're going to bring it all back together, results equals retention.
Yeah.
If you can get people results and just focus on everything about getting results, every single person will have retention.
On that note, you have any recommendations for referrals, or it's kind of all within the same? Like, is there any, I guess, hacks or strategies? Like, I really like the group chat.
Referrals? 2 things for referrals. Yeah. 1, as soon as someone signs up, ask them.
Yeah.
And then 2, group chats are really good. So private communities.
Yeah.
Another thing that would be
like group chat, like let's say my client's Bob, and Bob is like, he likes me, and I'm like, do you know anybody else? And they're like, yes. Then I'm like, okay, make a group chat with me and Bob, or Bobette.
So what I would do is, I do group chats in terms of communities.
I have the school community.
So in terms of like, you can use WhatsApp, Telegram, whatever like that. School is a good place as well, where you can get referrals in. Another thing you can utilize is giving. So like, in terms of referrals, the studies have shown that if you don't have to give a lot. Mm-hmm. If I say, Adam, I'm going to give you 1 free session if you refer me 2 people, the fact that I'm giving you something, you're just happy. Sure, man, I'm paying for this thing. Sure, for every 5 people you give me, I'm going to give you 1 free session. So if you because it doesn't need to be monetary. It could be time-based. It could be a shaker cup. Yeah. It could be anything.
Okay, it shouldn't be a shaker cup if you're asking for a referral.
It shouldn't be, but it could be whatever it is. It can be, you can go to Popeyes and go get like, okay, hey, can I get some samples?
No, what I did that I think works really well is I give clients the option of like a free month of coaching. Well, it depends if it's online or not, but like either free month of coaching, or I'll give them, because it's also business right off. I'll give them like an Amazon gift card.
Yeah, so it's incentivizing. Incentivizing for referrals really well. Yeah. But I think the number one way to get referrals is right from the beginning.
Yeah.
So as soon as I sign you up for something, whatever it is, the number one thing I'm going to do is ask you: is there anyone else that you know that wants to take their journey to the next level?
Yeah.
And most likely, you're going to be like, yes or no. And I've ran through referral networks of 6 people just doing that.
That's crazy.
Right? So like, I signed up 1 person, he brought me 6 people. Yeah. Literally. And that was 1 month.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Right? And I was just testing out this referral network work. And it was like, I tell trainers, I'm like, this is where trainers have that gap. Well, a lot of trainers have this gap, which is asking for referrals. Yeah. Like, guys, ask for referrals.
I ask for referrals literally every month.
Another thing that helps with referrals is testimonials.
Yeah.
So testimonials help because now testimonials
and social proof.
It is social proof in itself, because at that point, if I have testimonials with everybody that's done well with me, at that point, like we talked about, there's no real objections. You're here because you know what I can do and you know me.
Some of the best, the best success that other than the group chat thing, the best that I've gotten is like when I get a client like really good results, and then I send them their before and after, and they'll post that on their story and tag me, and then I'll get people
That's it right there. Yeah. I mean, that's social. That's proof.
Yeah.
Because that proof, your clients are your billboard. So when your clients get results, that is the proof. And I always used to tell trainers, I'm like, well, the first thing is you're your first billboard.
Yeah.
Right. So what results have you gotten? Are you stronger? Are you jacked? Whatever it is. Have you lost weight? Right. You're your billboard.
Oh man, I was at a Good Life like 2 weeks ago. I don't know the circumstances. I don't want to like assume, but some guy, he was a trainer. He was in the training area with a Good Life shirt, and he was definitely over like 250.
Yeah. So my thing is this: are you strong?
Well,
I better see you benching more than everyone else, squatting more than everyone. Because at that point, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Because you're a strength athlete, it makes sense. But you're not like, but you've seen it before where you see, we use strongmen, for instance. They're big guys. They're fat.
Yeah,
but
they're mass moves mass.
Yeah, they're, you can see muscle on that fat. And you're like, like, so you can see the difference
fucking
between
Eddie Hall's like 900 pounds.
You got it.
Six-pack.
Right? You can see the difference between like someone that's fat or let's see overweight or obese and in shape of some sort and someone that's out of shape or not conditioned. Right? So my biggest thing is that if you're conditioned for whatever sport or whatever thing you're doing, great. But if you're deconditioned, I've had that before where I've had trainers who just didn't condition themselves and then they stopped training and I'm like, what are you doing? It's like you've lost weight and you gained weight, but you're not stronger. You're not doing anything with it. I don't see you deadlifting 600 pounds. I don't see you squatting, benching, or doing anything. And that shows up with people who see you in the gym. So now all of a sudden people are like, oh, what happened? Like people see my own journey. They're like, you're down. I'm down from 280 from July. Like, what'd you do? I'm like, I started walking on the treadmill. Like, it can't be that easy.
No, time out. Bro, what do you mean? You're missing $1 million opportunity. You're like, I have the secret hack.
Yeah.
I have the secret hack. Buy this pill. I have the secret fucking fat loss method. And then people pay you and they're like, yeah, I just walked on a treadmill. But that's Instagram for you.
Right? And I'm like, I walked on a treadmill. Like, I do strength training all the time. The only thing I added was 30 to 40 minutes of treadmill walking 3 to 4 times a week. And you know what I did? I stopped doing that in the month of December because I'm like, I have a goal that I want to get down to, but I'm like, I don't want to get down to too fast. So I'm like, okay, pause, wait, losing weight too fast. Don't want to do that. So I stopped doing that because I know that once I start doing that again, the weight will continue going down. Like if you start setting your mind to losing weight or whatever the goal is, we talked about before, the only thing that stops you is you.
Yeah.
Like there's very rare people like the hormonal thing that comes out. There are people who have hormonal issues, but not everybody.
Well, like my favorite is like PCOS.
Yeah.
Okay, like there are certain instances, but like I'd say 95%. Like it's not like
you got it. So it's some things are overprescribed and some things are overdone, and I think that they use it as a crutch to stop. Like I
use it as an excuse. Yeah. Oh, I'm big bone. My metabolism is slow. Like, bro, I don't know about that.
I've had my metabolism slow and I've had my metabolism fast, and then I'm like, you know what your metabolism is? It's your BMR. I'm like, let's go on the scale. That's your metabolism right there. Right? So I'm like, you're either not eating enough or you're eating too much. Whichever one it is, I don't know. But that's what it is. Whenever I talk to a skinny person that wants to get big, I'm like, you know what it took me to get to 300 pounds? I ate 6 meals a day every 3 hours. And I ate meals. My first meal was a cup of oat protein powder with 2 cups of protein. Right? A cup of protein powder. A cup of oatmeal with 2 cups of protein in it. Right? That was my first meal. My second meal was a 5-egg omelet, meat lover's omelet, with cheese and everything else in it. My third meal was a full chicken with sweet potato. My fourth meal was ribs. My fifth meal was pasta.
Bro, you were better off just going to like the Mandarin every day.
Right? Well, that's what I mean. I was going up to 300. Right? So I was serious. Like you look at Brian Hall, you look at Eddie Shaw, you look at all these guys. They're eating a lot of food. So like you want to gain weight, you need to eat.
Well, I want to honestly keep talking forever because we have a lot to talk about, but I'm pretty certain we'll probably do this again sometime. And I'll probably go on your pod soon.
Yeah, man.
Talk about that later. But I kind of just want to put a bow on it or wrap it up. Like, is there anything, I don't know, is there anything you want to like last hurrah mention or I don't know?
I'd say this: if you're a new personal trainer and you're looking at really getting started in this industry, right? Because I'm talking to trainers. That's who I talk to. Like I've niched down to like I would talk to trainers. Mm-hmm. If you want to get started in this industry, do it. Like, just do it. Like, and so you're passionate about it. Just try it. But you're passionate about it. It's like something that you're passionate about for yourself.
Yeah.
That's cool.
But don't do it because you think you're seeing all these fucking coaches on Instagram or YouTube saying, "Oh, I make 6 figures a month."
Don't do it for money.
Yeah, don't do it. Honestly, like again, like I think a lot of people have a really fucked up like, "Oh, you're a trainer, you must make all." Nah, dude.
Yeah.
Like, I think maybe like if we had a pie chart, I think maybe 10%, if that, of trainers make 6 figures.
Yeah, and it's not easy.
No, it's very hard.
I'd say if you look at the 10% and you use that pie chart, I guarantee you every single one of them are very passionate about what they do.
Yes, I agree.
And that's where I look at them like, you need to focus on like, are you passionate about this? If you're not passionate about it, don't start.
Well, it's like the same thing with your health and fitness journey. I think this is a perfect way to put a bow on it. The second you lose, like motivation fades.
Yep.
The second like you start something, you'll have that initial inertia, that spark of motivation, but then that shit's going to fade. And the only thing that is going to keep you to continuing is your why, or in this case, like if you're trying to be a trainer, your why is to help people. Or if it's your health and fitness journey, journey. Your why is because you don't want to die for your kids. You want to look better for your wedding. You don't want to gasp for air walking up a flight of stairs. And those are the times where like when shit hits the fan, you want to give up. Then you go back to your why. You go back to like the actual reason you started this shit.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. Well, where can people find you? I guess like ever watch the show? What's the show? Hot Ones with Sean Evans. You know, YouTube show, really? Bro. Everybody asks if they don't. Okay, so it's a celebrity show, or it's basically celebrities go on the show and eat hot wings, and each question.
Oh yeah.
So at the end of each episode, okay, I'm glad you know. At the end of each episode, to quote Sean Evans, he always says, "Okay, we have this camera, this camera, this camera. Let the people know what you got going on," and then they like plug their shit.
Okay.
So I kind of copied that, but I gave him credit. So I guess basically plug whatever you want, and then.
All right. Yeah. So number one, you can go on Amazon. I have a book called The Trainer's Playbook. I wrote it last year. It is focusing on how to get people to keep clients and retain clients. Number two, I have a free book if you go to my link tree. So
I'll put all that. I'm gonna put like your Instagram and your stuff.
Oh, great! So where you can find me, you can find me two places. One at the Manny Fraser on Instagram on all platforms at the Manny Fraser. And then another one is at Gym Sales Coach. If you're looking at really working on your sales and connecting and being able to communicate with people, that is just purely about that. And that's would be the two places you can find me.
Yeah, I actually would say if there is any trainers or coaches watching this, especially if you're like new, if you're just starting off or like less than a year in, I wouldn't accredit Good Life, but I would accredit other business coaches. No offense, but but I would accredit like me hiring other business coaches and mentors to fast track and get better success, because there's a lot of different funnels and aspects you don't know, and when you don't know shit, you should pay for knowledge. It's the same thing with your health and fitness journey. But
I completely agree with it. And that's where it's like, so this past it, I would tell people, don't worry about going to a gym. Yeah. Like, you need to learn how to do this. Yeah. Right? And at the end of the day, wherever you need to go next, that's where you go. The beauty of a gym, like a big box gym, is that. But I recently did a podcast just breaking that down, where it's like, hey, these are two places you can go. What's the benefits? Yeah. So, but yeah.
Well, if everybody's still watching this, make sure to drop them a follow. All the stuff will be in the description below if you're on YouTube or on Apple or Spotify. And then if you can, leave a review, subscribe, all that stuff. It's free. Like, a lot of effort goes into stuff like this to help. Well, lately it's free. It's a free thing for free things. It's called the law of reciprocity. So thank you very much, and I'll see you eventually in the next episode, whenever that is.